New Blue Lock Rivals balance changes have been shown in the Blue Lock Rivals testing Discord, and they are finally making many anticipated changes. Note that these balance updates can change or even be removed, but still, it's interesting to see where they are heading. There are a lot of changes to different characters, so let's get started. First up, we have Kunigami, who is getting a body block nerf, reducing the ragdoll time, range, and knockback, which should make going against Kunigami less stressful. Kaiser will also be getting a nerf to various moves. Kaiser Impact will now require more accuracy, and the shot will be slower and weaker. Kaiser Volley will need you to be inside your teammate for it to work, kinda like lefty shot now. B-Inches will require you to be near a teammate, and Subjugation will now need you to be within 100 studs from your teammate. Nel Isagi will be getting a net positive change, as his lefty shot will now work as a dash and not a move you need to pop near someone. But it will allow you to counter with a dribble, and the dash will be getting a 25% increase. Overall for Isagi, these changes will make him a lot funner to use while also not sucking the fun out the game by requiring some skill. SAE is next up, and the devs have finally taken notice of the assault charges that Arm Swipe has brought and decided to nerf its range by half, reduce ragdoll time, and require closer proximity to use it. And that useless shot move people forgot he had will now curve and have more power, finally making him less of a troll, one-trick style to an actual fun and varied style. Zombie Man Don Lorenzo will also receive a nerf to one of his controversial moves, Golden Defense, which will now be dribbleable and have a higher cooldown. Zombie Dribble, on the other hand, will receive a farther range while removing end lag, which is when your character is unable to use another move for a certain amount of time. A highly anticipated buff comes to Aiku. His Forced Defense will now have 2 charges and will then have a minute cooldown after both charges have been used, and his charge hitbox has been increased by 20%. Good changes to Aiku, as he's one of the few old styles in need of a reworks refresh. Another old style getting an update is McDonald's very own Nagi, getting a dash increase of 15%, as long as a cooldown decrease of 5 seconds. Trap also got a 5-second decrease to its cooldown. Tyler Ninja Blevins Otoya has been given a deserved buff with Stealthy Steps, getting a 1.5 times duration buff, and a cooldown decrease of 17 seconds. Ninja Dribble will stun opponents for 1/2 seconds with a ninja shot. Getting a power buff, Awk Shot also got buffed by a marginal amount, overall, while I do believe he does need a buff. These changes do sound very generous, especially for an epic, so it will be interesting to see. Everyone's favorite slot squatter Karasu will have a reduced cooldown to Raven Dribble and Crow Theft. And also, Crow Theft will now have a smaller hitbox. Chigiri will have a speed decrease to Speedster. As if goalkeepers needed any more help, Gagamaru has received some buffs to all moves, including reduced cooldown to Diving Header and an increase in player reach of Scorpion. Fast Reaction runs out quicker, but has a reduced cooldown, and Bear Claw gets a time increase to catch the ball. Rio Offensive Mode will be buffed overall with Shot Bar, Shot Power, Speed Boost, and reduced time to dribble by 10% on all of them. Four-Eyed Yukimiya will finally get a buff, the Stamina Drain, with it being reduced by 1/3 across the board on both moves, and Lethal Touch, not having end lag. Corona's Planet Hotline will now have the cover distance of OG Nel Isagi Dash, and both players will also receive a 3-second speed boost. Very interesting. Regular Bachira will have an increased stun to the Nutmeg by 0.3 seconds, and Steel will only have a 10% hitbox buff. B-Style Flow got a nerf with it having 1 less dribble. And finally, what you probably came here for, Nel Rin Destroyer. Domain, 20% range decrease, and finally be dribbleable. Destroyer Shot will have a marginal shot power decrease with some speed decrease. Occlusion break distance will now be decreased by 25%. Free goal move. Annihilate will receive a 10% shot power decrease. New toy will now be 1 use. Die and Destructive Crash Out. Shot get a 10% decrease in shot power and speed. Destruction Impulses will have 1 less steel removed. The steel cooldown reduction 33 to 20% reduced. Cooldown 50 to 25% bigger steel hitbox. And shot power will be decreased by 20%, meaning you will now go from shooting a Kaiser volley to a direct shot. That's it for all the changes, of course. They are subject to change, but these are some very great and needed changes, and I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on these in the comments below. Later.